I think we can get started. So like I said, we're going to start with a little exercise and then we'll do a meditation and then we'll dive in and we'll spend as much time as we have just answering questions. Okay, so here's the question. Here's the exercise. I want you to be bold and I want you to also be honest, right? You don't need to judge yourself. This is all it's all just information, and really it doesn't mean that much because every moment, do you ever notice how like in one moment you could feel a certain way and then somebody you love calls or you bump into someone at the grocery store and like 7 minutes later you feel totally different. So it's kind of interesting, but it also doesn't really mean much. So I feel like we don't have to judge ourselves so harshly. Like when I ask you this question I'm about to ask you, you can be honest and you can just go with what comes to mind and put it in the chat and in the comments, and then we'll just let it be, right? We don't have to feel like that's where we're going to be forever. It's just stream of consciousness. Okay. So here's my question. First, I want you to do this. If you have a sheet of paper and a pen around you, I want you to take your pen and your paper, and I want you to draw yourself a box like a check. Like a checkbook, okay? Draw a box and then draw like a check, right? You know how it looks. We hardly use them anymore. I know now we use Venmo and PayPal, but okay, so you have a box, you have a line, that's like the 2 line. You have a little tiny box inside, right? What do you do there? You put the number, and then you have another line under the 2 line where you write out the number, right? And then what do you have down here? You sign it. So I want you to draw that out. And I want you to put a number on the check that would be such a delightful number to be deposited into your account in 2023. And there's no wrong answer. I want you to just feel into what would be so exciting and just draw that little check. And I want you to put the number and write it to yourself. And then I want you to write out the words of the number and sign it. And then I want you to put the number value in the comments. Everyone good? Okay. So I see $3 million, 85,000. Oh, it's coming in hot. 111,000, 32, I think that's million, 25 million. I can't read numbers sometimes. 50,000, a million, 600K. 666,000, 15,000, 10,000, 25,000, 2 million, 1 million, 2 million, 1 million, 6,000, 60,000, 1,750,000. Great. Okay. This is fun. Isn't it just so interesting, Colleen, how there's a sense, right? And that sense is slightly different per person.
It totally is, because I notice like just the overall general trend, there's the millions people, and then there's the people who are, oh, well, if I hit 100K this year or 150, that would feel amazing, right? So it's interesting. And there's no right or wrong. It's like Cathy said. So it's just all fascinating, because the more we become aware of our process and how we are moving through or thinking about things, it unlocks all kinds of things for us.
Yes. And I like your observation, Colleen, because you and I have done this exercise so many times. I haven't heard you say that particular observation, but I get exactly what you mean. It's kind of like there's this playful ability to go over into the millions, maybe. And then there's this other part of us that maybe stays in the hundreds of thousands, because maybe it comes from this thought of like, well, what's realistic? Or what's practical, when like literally we can get into all of this, and right, I would have a field day with all of those words: practical, realistic, playful. Like I could literally do an hour with you on each of those sort of points of alignment, but I just love what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying. So I want to go further with this with you guys. And so, I want you to do something for me. If you're done typing, I think most of you have sort of typed if you're going to type. So close your eyes for a second. So I want you to see if you can find, and see, here's the thing, right? We have this We have this really incredible thing at the front of our brain, okay? This prefrontal cortex that it's really the crowning jewel of the human, okay? Because trees and panda bears don't have this exactly, but we do. So what happens is you could have an experience of the experience you're having, right? You can create a drone view. So even if your mind is moving right now, because that's what minds do, minds don't stop moving, just like your pulse, hopefully, as long as you're here, doesn't stop. And you won't stop breathing, hopefully, right? That all is a system that's just going to do what it's doing, but you can notice it. So instead of being in the mind right now, you can notice your mind. And that is mindfulness, right? Just watching it. So instead of being in the blizzard, you're just looking at it and you can go, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about what I ate. I'm thinking about how nervous I am that I just typed something and someone else typed something else and I'm judging myself. You can just observe it. And mindfulness is looking at your mind without judgment. So it's just noticing what is. And that's it. And so it's very clean. You're just noticing it and you're like, this is fascinating. Okay, the reason I tell you that is because what I want you to do is see if you can find that part of you that's always there. That part of you that's the you of you, the part of you that was created the second you were conceived, that electricity, before you had any cognitive bias, that part of you that is like the center, that centered place. And I want you to drop all the way in, find it, that part of you that's like your inner, beautiful, the soul, like that consciousness part, that part of you that always kind of has that gut intuitive hit, that part. I want you to see if you can just feel into that part. And you can notice how like we're very oriented to the mind, but there is this other aspect of us that's bigger than our body. And it's not in our mind, it's somewhere else. It's this other aspect. And we have that, right? That's called consciousness. We all have that. So as we're sort of experiencing what it's like to kind of move into that, I want you to just notice from that place when you feel alignment, when you feel connected, how much love are you capable of giving from that place? How many people can you love? How many animals could you find compassion for? How much loving kindness could you send to the world from that part? And really feel it. And the more you tap in, I think you're going to feel that the only word that would make sense is endless. There's this endless capacity to love. And it doesn't have an edge. It doesn't end. It doesn't have a limit. And now I want you to notice this part of you that's really you, this essence of you, this soul, this conscious energy. How much of a capacity does that part of you have to receive? That part of you is not an ego. That part of you doesn't have an avatar. That part of you is not constantly judging and comparing, because it's not your body, it's not your zip code, it's not your weight, it's your essence, right? How much can that part of you receive? How many smiles could you receive from strangers? How much love would you be willing to receive? Does it have an ending? And the only fitting word is endless. It's an endless stream. Just like the heart pumps blood, it just takes in the full amount and gives it right back to the body. It's just this constant, infinite giving and receiving. And that's our essence. That's energy, right? It just gives and receives. It gives life and it gives love and it receives it. And takes it back in and it gives it back. So that starts to feel like alignment. So now from this place, if money is energy, from this place, how much of a capacity does your soul have to receive? How much of a capacity does your soul have to be a custodian for flowing through it, the energy of money. How much love can it receive? How much oxygen can it receive? How much money can it receive? How much resource can it receive and flow back out, in and out, in and out. And just feel that. And I want you to feel about 8 inches above the crown of your head. Just life force, that you're literally part of this one unified field. And in this moment, something is giving you an electric pulse. You're being given life. And you're loving life back with every breath. And you're in this stream. Whether you're aware of it or not, you are. Just like the flowers get their photosynthesis from the energy, there's a source of life giving it life. We're all being given this energy, being loved into life. Okay, now open your eyes. So when people ask me, what do you do inside this program? That's what we do. And that's what we do for the first 6 weeks of this program. So I've told you pieces of my story, but another piece of my story is that I spent 3 years at the UCLA Mindful Awareness Research Center being certified and learning how to teach mindful meditation, which is a secular practice to help you drop into the present, to help you find the stream. And why did I give you that exercise and then bring you into that meditation? Because the only fitting amount is endless. And any other number that you put other than infinity, it's only coming from one thing. Who knows? What's it coming from? Any number other than infinite. What is it being generated from?
Your ego. Ego.
Correct. It's coming from your ego. It's coming from all that is actually not you. It's coming from the part of you that makes judgment about yourself. And that part of you makes judgments about other people. That part of you has a lot to say about who deserves what, and a lot to say about what you deserve. That part of you is not generous. It's not generous to you, and it's not really that generous to other people because it's constantly needing people's approval. So it's hard to let other people have their opinions. It's hard to see that they're just in their own stream of their own trending thoughts. It's what gets us in trouble. It's what actually keeps us from being abundant. Because true abundance is generosity. The reason why I can allow in millions and millions of dollars, I don't even look at my bank account. I only know how much money I have at the end of the year when taxes are done. Because all I know is every day, God, use me. Put me in. Put me fully in. Get me out of my ego. I don't want it, right? Any amount of life force I have, let me be a channel for that. Any amount of money I have, let me be a channel for that. Any amount of energy I can bring in, let me use it to love other people into life. So please tell me, what good does it do for you to come from that place, for you to practice that place, for you to really hold on to scarcity? How does that love this world into flow? The answer is it doesn't. So we talked about this on day 1. We're sort of wrapping up with this on day 5, but this is the answer key. Scarcity is ego. Imposter syndrome is ego. Self-doubt is ego. So any part of you that thinks that that's humility, that is false humility. True humility is, I'm part of this oneness, and I'm not separate from anyone else. I'm part of it. And I don't judge myself because I don't judge other people, because I see us all as one, because there's only one infinite ecosystem. So I just want to allow in as much as possible. You know, the dolphins swimming in the ocean don't say, you gave me too much water. You made me too beautiful. They just say humbly, I'm just here to serve. The redwood trees don't say, I'm too tall. If I'm this tall, what's going to happen? No, just let me do my job, right? Eagles don't say, I shouldn't fly so high. No, just have the grace to show up and do your job, right? Live to your potential, right? The only thing in nature that doesn't live to its potential is a person. And that's a problem. And it's from humility, which is really ego, right? What did Moses say when God came and said, I need your help? He said, I'm not the guy. And he's like, oh, it's not about you. So I need you to do it, right? So it's not about us. It's not about what our ego is afraid will happen. It's not about being afraid of failure. It's like, get over it. If you were given that gift, I sometimes say to people, you're such a great speaker. You're so beautiful. And oh my God, no, I'm like, just say thank you. You did nothing to earn that. It's a gift. It's called grace, right? The moment I held each of my kids, was there any part of me that thought that there were 17,000 things I did that added up to being able to have this gift? No, it's called grace. It's beyond anything. You don't have to earn love. You don't have to earn any of it. You know, you just show up and you just become. And that's why the infinity sign is like this. That's why I use the heart. It pumps it all the way in, brings it all the way out. Same thing with oxygen, right? But what have we done with money? Oh God. We've destroyed ourselves with money. Measure for measure, ego, right? So nobody wants to be egocentric because you're good, because you have integrity. So if you want to have integrity, we need to learn to receive, right? It's very beautiful. It's very feminine, right? Look at the anatomy of male, female. Feminine receives. It's a beautiful gift just to receive. Just to be in wonder, just to be in gratitude, just to say thank you. And then with everything that comes in, what do? You give it back. And it's amazing. So how much are you available to receive? How much energy are you tapped into? If you're in ego, it's going to be hard to get more than 65,000. But if you're connected to soul, why? Because if you read anything by Gabby Bernstein, Wayne Dyer, any therapist, any intuitive, any self-development person from the beginning of time, what do they say? They say, we don't get what we want. Doesn't work like that. What do we get? We get what we are. It's a tuning fork. It's a match. So if you come from ego, you're going to get just that much. But if you are connected to source, if you're connected to the world within you, that's who you are. What can you only get back? What you are. What are you? Infinite. What kind of capacity do you have to give? Infinite capacity. What kind of capacity for generosity, for creativity do you have? Infinite. So that's why we said your only job is tending to your focus. Every second, where's your vibration? You cannot afford to trend negative. You just can't afford it. You go into trance, you lost the day, now you lost the month, now you lost the year. That's why I say, if you're on the fence about this program, I guarantee you can't afford not to do it. However, there are a million other amazing teachers who teach this work. And I'm not the only person doing it, but go get in it. Get in it. I don't, wherever you got to go. Go listen to Sadhguru, go to one of his programs, go to Joe Dispenza, sign up at UCLA, listen to John Kabat-Zinn. Get in the work. Because we are conditioned by a culture that's putting us into fight or flight, putting us into ego, putting us into lack constantly. And nobody is strong enough to overcome a constant influence, a constant stimulus, because it puts you in there. But we can overcome this with just practice. Just practice. But this program, if you only did the first 6 weeks of this program, your life is not the same. You know what happens to a boat? If you get on a ship, you go out to sea, and you take the compass and you change direction 2%, 2 degrees. I'm not talking 48 degrees. I'm not talking 78 degrees. If you just changed 2 degrees and you keep going 50 miles, 1,000 miles, do you know where you wind up? You wind up in a different continent with a 2-degree difference. So Colleen and I said a few days ago, most people don't change. Change is hard, right? Because the brain will run a program. However, if you only changed 2%, you have a different future. You are not the same. You do not wind up in the same destination. You have a different result. So we're going to do another meditation in a little bit, but I'm going to pause. Colleen, anything you want to share?
Oh, it's all just so yummy, and you guys can feel it, right? You know how you felt this week, and I'm willing to bet for anyone that's still here on day 5, you know there's parts of you that you can feel and that are awakened, maybe that you haven't felt this strongly in a while, right? That there's a possibility, a joy, a lightness, right? And we can access that so much more of our day to day to day to day. And like Cathy said, it's really around becoming intentional. It's around becoming mindful, right? That's a big part of what we do in the program is we walk you through specific exercises. So you learn how to go, ooh, what is in my blind spot? Because we all have blind spots, every single one of us. That's just part of how we move through the world. But when we learn how to shine a light on it, when we can learn how to see more of what's there, that's how we can then start to shift and step more into this space where we can play more, where the soul is at home. Because your greatest gift to anyone in any moment is when you stand in your joy, when you stand in your light, when you stand in your alignment. No one can ever know what that is. No one can ever tell you what that is. But if you can stay in a container where you can keep that turned on and you can stay plugged in, so it becomes second nature, right? It's like when you learn the ABCs at first, you can't remember which letter and what comes next, and you can only get so far. And then there's a point where you forget that it was even a thing, you never knew the alphabet, right? That's what this is. It's just learning a new language. It's just learning a new way of relating to yourself as you go through the day. And then before you know it, you're amazed at everything that changes.
Yeah. And that's why, the answer that I'm giving you on day 5, when people say, I want to have abundance, and I say, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. The answer is you are abundance. You're a soul, your electricity, your energy, your consciousness. You have an infinite amount of capacity for vision, for love, for generosity. It's the truth. It's literally the truth. You have an infinite amount. It's like one candle has the capacity to use that light to light an infinite amount of other lights, and it doesn't lose its own flame. It's just the law of abundance. You are that. And so this is what we wanted to do this week. This is the work that we do. And I wanted to tell you another thing, because some of you, and this is a real big deal, some of you are not entrepreneurs. In fact, they've done studies and they've looked at the qualities that entrepreneurs have. There's like about 9 things that entrepreneurs have all of: risk-taking, being willing to there's this like tolerance. There's tolerance for change. There's a tolerance for things. There's a high tolerance for taking action. There's a lot of tolerance. Okay. They say that only really like 4% of the world, Colleen, is like a true entrepreneur. And I think you and I have had that conversation because you've been a successful entrepreneur, but it's not your favorite aspect of life, but you can do it because you're smart and you're likable and you know what to do. But for me, like, I'm very much all of those 9 things, just my temperament. I say that though, because what we've seen in this program is people will get so much out of the mindful, energetic frequency work that even then going into the second half of the program, so many things happen. They'll get a promotion, right? Like they'll see that they can apply these things inside of where they are. One example is one of the girls, she was working in corporate, I won't say where, but she was working for a big company. And she got so inspired that she asked her boss if she could do something for their social media, because she had all these new ideas, and they actually created a new position for her because she learned stuff in the class that she felt would really be helpful, and it helped a lot, and she got promoted. And this other girl came to her boss and said, what if we had a podcast and we did this and this? And he was like, that's an amazing idea. That's so out of the box. So she created the company's podcast. Next thing she knew, she just did that for the company. And like, she didn't even have to host it. She just sort of like came up with this idea. So I just love understanding that abundance is abundance is abundance. You get to have your ice cream and the cherry on top. You really do, right? It's just about starting to be creative. It's about starting to see your passions. It's about starting to see things that work in business that you could apply to a business you're working in, that you could apply to a business you want to start. And it's really all there for you to sort of utilize. One of my friends, she was working at 7-Eleven and she was a manager there. And it was an interesting time because she had been prior to that, she was working at an ad agency in Chicago, and they lost this one account. So she got fired and she was not enjoying life and she needed a job. And so she wound up being very like humble, and she got a job at 7-Eleven as a manager. And she decided, you know what, if this is what I'm doing in this season, I'm going to enjoy it. Like, if this is what I'm doing right in this moment, I'm just going to smile through it because this is what I'm doing in this moment. So I may as well smile. So she enjoyed giving people cups of coffee and, talking to the little ladies and the moms that would come in and whoever, and giving the homeless guys some food outside. Like, she just got into it. And one day she got a call from the Oprah Winfrey show. This was like many years ago. And they said, we were going through a closet and we saw your resume and we need help for about 3 weeks on promos. And since you worked in the ad world, could you come in and could you work for a few weeks helping us make some promos, some short like trailers? So she said yes, even though that would mean she would lose her job for a 3-week gig. She just felt like, how do you not say yes? So she went and she loved it. And because she loved it, they kept her on. And she went from the promo department to the main television show. And a year later, she got promoted. And a year after that, she got promoted. And 3 years in, she's sitting across from Oprah. And Oprah said, I'm about to announce the new executive producer of the Oprah show. And she goes, and I thought you might want to know because it's you. And she became the executive producer of Oprah. And then she became president of Harpo. And then she became president of OWN. She actually started the network with Oprah. And she's my friend, Sherry Salata, who I've become really close to. And she's been on my show a few times and I've been on her show. And I tell that story because holy smokes. I mean, when we're in the moment and we're generous and we're not attached and we're not disappointed, people notice. When we're in flow state, when we're just a high vibe, when we're just creative, we're just adding more ideas, people notice. People notice. So about 2 weeks ago, I interviewed this girl, Sona, who is Conan O'Brien's assistant. And it was like such a similar story. She was like working at NBC as a temp, and then she got this job, and then she was working as Conan's assistant. And then he's like, oh, let me like shoot some video with you. And her friend's like, oh my God, you were on the Conan O'Brien show. I saw you on video. Are you going to do something with that? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to be his assistant because I like it. And then he started a podcast and he's like, you want to be my co-host? And her friends were like, why don't you start your own show? And she's like, well, because I really like this. Anyway, she's been with him for years and she's become like his right hand in every way. And she wrote this book called World's Worst Assistant, and he and her kind of collaborated on it. It's hilarious. And her life has just become this incredible thing. And she said, you know what it is? He just knew I was actually happy where I was. Like, I wasn't doing this to get to this. Like, I liked it because it was fun. And that's abundance, right? There's no lack. People love being around someone who's just all the hell in. enjoying it, the most amazing things happen. So I want to do one more visualization with you, and then we're going to answer questions, and that's all we're going to do for the rest of the time. So let us close our eyes one more time. So I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture yourself. This is the highest, best version of you sometime in the future. Future you, living your best life. And I want you to picture that you're sitting on a bench, talking to a friend, and you are literally just witnessing you, the happiest smile you've ever seen. You're talking to your friend, and there's just this glow about you, and your shoulders are just so, they're just like soft, and your cheekbones, like everything about you is relaxed and at ease and in the flow. And you're sitting talking to a friend. I want you to just see this image of you talking to a friend. It's like the most beautiful day. And you're telling your friend about your life, and you're telling your friend about what is happening every day and how in love you are with your life. And just feel what it feels like to see yourself like that. Just see it, feel that. Ah, there you are. You're just like in resonance. It's already done. It's already here. You're no longer separate and holding yourself apart from all these things that you want that are not where you are. Instead, you're just in this abundant state, and everything's just turning to life around you. All these synchronicities every day. You can't even count how many, because your vibration can't not attract it, because you're just such a vibe and you're loving it, and everything's already overflowing, and you're just in awe, and you're telling this to your friend, and she's just glowing because it's so genuine that it's inspiring her. And now I want you to flash to a different scene, and I want you to see yourself doing that which you love to do. And here you are, and you're getting paid, whether you're at your job or you're doing the thing that you created. But I want you to see yourself where all of your gifts and talents are being used. All of the things that really make you you, I want you to just see yourself doing it, and how much you love it, and how much it just feels so good to just be used for all your gifts. And it's just such a pleasure. And I want you to see yourself just in that moment. How good does that feel to know that every one of your gifts, your natural talent, it's just being utilized, and you're loving it, and you're so busy walking in purpose, and you're connecting with people, and the people around you are just so in their sense of joy, just being connected to you and your joy. And there's just this feeling that everything's aligned, and it just feels so good. I want you to memorize this feeling and remember where it is. And this is the skeleton key, because that vibration exists in you, and that vibration leaves an imprint in the world. And that vibration, the world responds to, just like it responds to your other vibration when you're out of alignment. But when you're in this level of alignment, you just get back. For every ounce of glow, you get like 20,000 incredible opportunities that just come back. Okay, now I want you to open your eyes and tell us in the chat what you were doing. What was in the scene? What were you doing? Who were you with? Where were you? Tell us anything about that. Teaching and coaching. What else? Speaking on stage, traveling, creating art. Yes. Selling your paintings, community work, designing. Yes, yes. So beautiful. And you see this, right, Colleen? You see this and you think, how can the world exist when all these people with all these dreams, if we're not there living out that alignment? That's what we came to do, right?
Yeah.
Think about how that would just pour. I mean, you think about when another 80s reference, the Care Bears with the Care Bear stare, and each of them has something unique. And it's like, here we are looking at like, politics, or we get online and people argue about things. And it's like, how much would shift if every human being had the courage to walk in alignment? It's like, how much would shift if you didn't argue about this policy and instead each person aligned with themselves, right? Had the courage to show up and showed up from alignment, not from ego, right? If everyone was swimming in that, there's nothing to argue about. There's nothing to talk about, right? We all just do what we do. That's what the animal kingdom does, right? They just do their thing. They don't have to sit down and have board meetings, right? They just do their thing. They just do their thing. It's clean. They're not judging it. They're not worried about it. No instrument in the orchestra. The triangle doesn't sit there and go, I should have been a cello. Forget it. I'm not a cello. I'm not even going to play. I'm just going to sit over there in the corner because I'm not a cello. It's like, what are you doing? Right? The bass is so important. The guitar is so important. And those drums, what if the drums were like, but I don't make notes. I just make percussion. It's like, yeah, without you, we don't know where we're headed. We can't keep time. We can't stay together, right? You're the glue, right? What are we doing, right? And why are you not playing full out? Why not play your instrument? So that's what we've been doing all week. That's a little review for you. Colleen, anything you want to say before we take some questions?
It's amazing how we can go into these visualization states. We know how good it feels when we do, and then we bounce back into reality. And that ego part of us likes to practically and rationally, right? Just like how some of us were more inclined to answer that money question at the beginning. We come up with things about why that might not be possible, or this couldn't change this quickly, or this can't happen until X, Y, and Z happen. So it's just a pipe dream, right? And all of that is only true because you're telling yourself it's true, because there is no truth other than what you choose to perceive. That's it. And so if you decide to start telling a different narrative, if you decide to spend more time in that vision and less time at looking what's around you, it will be amazing how much things can shift for you, because there's nothing that anyone put down there that isn't possible.
Right.
It's like Esther Hicks says, ask and it's given, right? And that's where Cathy's whole comment at the beginning around it's about receptivity is, as soon as you've asked, it's loaded in your warehouse. It's like ready for delivery. It's there. And we have to allow that to come in. And that's really the work, right? The work is being in the contrast, realizing what you want, but then not getting stuck there. And most of us get stuck there instead of being able to shift into that receptivity mode. And that's the magic of what we teach you how to really understand, to embody that, because that is what unlocks everything, right? Whether you do want that entrepreneurial journey, whether you just want to make more money in your job or find a different job or get paid more or find more coherence in your relationships. It's amazing that people who've been through our programs who, like Cathy said, it's not just like, here I am, and now I'm getting paid X for this. There's people who will say, oh my God, my marriage is like beyond what I ever thought was possible, or I finally met this person, or my job, I hate it, but I'm actually loving my job now. All of these parameters, you'll be amazed because everything's just connected. It's all just a reflection of your inner energy.
I know when you think about it, it's like this week, right? Just in 5 days, how different do you feel? Right? And isn't that amazing? Because what are we doing? We're changing the software, right? We're disrupting the pattern. We're interrupting the program, right? And so if you think about, and again, there's a million things like this. I mean, infinite. There's so many things like this that actually work, right? So you don't have to do it through us. But get it, go get it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, go get it, because it's a must. Right? Because every human being is in theta state until they're 8 years old. And so everyone's got this schmutz, right? And we can reprogram, we can embed something new. But you think about it, right? Because I've done all the things, right? I spent 3 years studying this meditation, practicing this at UCLA. I've done many weeks with Joe Dispenza. I've spent so much time and money on this. And I say to myself, it's worth everything. And you have to keep, you have to keep practicing. It's just like you have to keep showering. You're not just going to stay smelling good if you don't keep showering. You have to keep brushing your teeth, right? You need the hygiene. You have to keep in the practice of it. So I'm always doing it, right? I have a hypnotherapist now, that's even more money because I pay for her one-on-one. I'm always doing it to get the next level, to get the next edge. But when you think about it from this perspective, it's ridiculous. Like, what would you pay to change the software? It's priceless. What would you change to pay? And what would you pay to change and embed a new program? Because that program determines how you feel. And it determines how you see and what you can see versus what you can't see. And all of a sudden, of course, everything starts to flow. When you said the word, and you said it because we all say it, you come back to reality, right? My friend Amy Purdy, she has 2 prosthetic legs and she's a snowboarder, and she's won the Paralympic Games 3 times on 2 prosthetic legs snowboarding. And then she was on Dancing with the Stars on 2 prosthetic legs. And she says to me, she came home from this, she went to this weekend with Justin Timberlake and George Lucas and Elon Musk. It was like 50 of them. They went to some island to brainstorm. And she's like, I'm back in reality. I go, no, you're not. That's reality, right? People who understand that this universe is net positive, right? That the beginning of the story is just what you think it is. The end of the story is what you bring to it, because our creativity is reality. Our resourcefulness is reality. Our ability to use our mind and our energy to move this world is reality, right? When JFK said, we're going to put a man on the moon, they were looking at him like, did he say that out loud? We've never gotten close. Why would he say that? And he's like, because I'm going to set the vision and you'll figure it out. And they did, right? And what Colleen is saying is the things you want to do, there's evidence everywhere. When he said, put a man on the moon, there was no evidence. When Amy said she was going to snowboard on 2 prosthetics, there was no evidence. She figured it out. She said she got up on the snowboard the first day and it was a disaster. She just was literally, her coach was like, you're going to kill yourself. Like, stop. She had a lot of issues. And so she called all these different engineers and talked to people about if they could make the right feet that would help her to move in certain ways. And they all said no. And she got really depressed. And then she had this thought, which was, maybe it hasn't happened because it can't. Or maybe it hasn't happened because I'm the person who's going to do it. Isn't that the most incredible, abundant thought? So she made her own feet, and they're in the Smithsonian because nobody had figured that out until her. And now that's her legacy. And P.S., she didn't even lose her legs till she was 19. She grew up with her legs and she got meningitis. She lost her legs and she figured it out. So it's like, if she can get up on a snowboard, if she can do what she's doing, if she can feel good every day, forget even snowboarding, then we have no excuse. And we're sitting on gold. And the amount that we can do for the world, and the amount of energy we can pulse through us, and the amount of creativity, and the amount of resourcefulness, and the amount of things you can give. When people say, who am I to do this? I go, who are you not to? How do you get to sit it out? Why are you not needed all of a sudden? Why is your fear now more important than all the things you were supposed to give away? Stop it, right? Call yourself out on it. You picture a stop sign. You're just like, stop trending down these thoughts. This is a no-go. Right? So that's why we spend 6 weeks in the program embedding new software, because on the other side, your ship is in a different destination. So we're going to answer some questions. And just so you guys know too, we close the cart in a few days and the price always goes up next week. So this was all still in that kind of like pre-sale price, which is really fun, because you know what, you guys, you have to understand your psychology. We don't know what we don't know, right? And so Colleen and I love you and your future so much that we literally put everything possible in play to get you out of the momentum of choosing scarcity and choosing from a possibility that is not a vibe. So anyways, if you're going to join, you're going to go to cathyheller.com/join, and we're going to get this done this year. Let's answer questions. Let's get into it. Here's what we want, by the way, with your question. We want to challenge you, okay? Because we give a lot of tough love around here because you know what? Nobody wants to be colluded with. Your egos actually don't want, yeah, we don't want more of it. You want to get up and out of it, right? So we might cut you off if we hear you trending down a wrong vibration to love you more. We might go, all right, let's catch you here before you say more. So you might get 6 words out and we might interrupt you, but then we'll come back. Okay. So here's what will be helpful. Be mindful when you speak. Your words create your life. Okay. So when you ask your question, we want you to say, my question is, and we often think that in order for people to get our question, they have to know our story. I'm telling you, I feel your energy, right? It's like an instrument. I can feel what note it is. And that's all I'm concerned about, actually. So I don't need the whole story of the backstory. I need to know what's happening in this moment. So when you ask your question, I want you to literally say, my question is, and we'll be here to love you. So if there's a way in which you're sort of trending this way, we'll help you see that. We'll help you see that. But it's going to be a fun exercise. And again, it's very brave to ask a question. So I already want to give all of you credit who even raised your hand, and just know that it all comes from love. We're just here. It's like being with a osteopath or a chiropractor or a yoga teacher who goes, that's the down dog. There's your alignment, right? And it's really helpful because you're like, I thought this was downward dog. And they're like, no, that's it. And you go, wow, that literally feels like sometimes I go to yoga and the teacher adjusts me. And in my mind, I'm like, I have to look in a mirror because the way it feels is that I'm totally out sideways. And it's just because I've been so out of alignment, right? That and I look in the mirror, I'm like, she's right. That's straight. That's straight. What the hell, right? We walk in certain ways. We think in certain ways. And then someone goes, whoop. And you're like, whoa, right? So we might lovingly adjust you. And that is only from love, because why else would you be here if you don't want to try to find, right, the most aligned version of you? Okay. Let's see how we do.
Hi, Chernice.
What a beautiful I'm already in the vibration. I love it.
Hi. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Chernice. My question is, when I think about my abundance and the infinite possibilities of life, I find that it's a little bit of a task to actually business plan and like write out a financial goal for my real estate business. It almost feels like they're two conflicting thoughts. So I would love to know how to merge them and, make it feel like one in my mind.
Oh, it's a great question. First of all, tell me the truth. You guys can feel her vibe, can't you? Pretty good. It's pretty good, right?
Oh, thank you.
It's very, very good. It's like such a generous, positive. It's so net positive. I love it. That's a great question. It's a great question because what you're asking is, I want to be able to allow in, right, a full and total, just big possibility. And then I'm trying to plan here, right? I'm trying to plan. So say a little more about where you then get stuck. Is it that you don't want to limit? Is it that you feel like you want to surrender to whatever God has for you? Just say a little more about that.
Yes, all of those things. And so if I can succinctly tell you a story about one of your events, I think it might help to give a little bit of background. So I'm going to move very, very quickly, but I'm so compelled to tell you this story. So the beautiful Amy Purdy invites me to your event in October in LA. I got one of her tickets, had no idea how I was going to make this happen, but a friend wanted to go on a cruise with me at the same time. Long story short, I said, if you can find a cruise that gets me to LA on October 20th or 21st, whatever date that was, I will go on this cruise with you. So that is exactly what happened. I feel like there are no coincidences. It was so divine. So I poured, the morning of your event, I go straight there. Now, before that event, I was in the ocean in San Diego, having the time of my life, because obviously I love the beach, having the time of my life. And a wave like sweeps over me and knocks my glasses off my face. I could not find them. And I am like nearly blind without my glasses. So anyway, I'm at your event and we took a break and I went through the employee entrance exit, because that's the way I entered, because I couldn't see. And so Cathy, you were stopping everyone. You said, oh guys, no, this is not the way, out, the entrance is on the other side. Then I said, oh, this is the way I came in. What I wanted to tell you is that I could not see the other side of the room to like make it out of the right entrance. But it was amazing because in that moment, I had to lose my glasses, beautiful designer glasses I loved, right? I had to lose them to gain clarity. Like that's what happened to me on that trip, because I could have let everything crash and burn, right? Like I'm on my way to see Cathy Heller and Amy Purdy and all these amazing people. And then this happened. So I'm literally here surrounded by your energy, but I can't even freaking see the stage. Like, I could have let that ruin everything. And I feel like that was a test for me. I feel like it was supposed to happen. And then a few weeks after that, I quit my 9-to-5 and I am now doing real estate full time.
Wow.
And so that's where I'm at right now. That's like the momentum that I have. And so I tell you all of that to say that, yeah, I don't want to limit it, because if I could help the world, literally not in like a cheesy kind of way, but if I could help billions of people, that's what I want.
Yes. And
so writing down a goal of $1 million a month or whatever it is, it just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like it's giving to everyone around me everything that they deserve.
Yeah, I think it's a yes and, right? Like if I want to be healthy, then I might reverse engineer, I'm going to drink water every day. And then if I want to drink water every day, I might buy one of those motivational water bottles so that I can actually put that on my desk, right? So I can break this big goal into small little things, but at the same time, I can let go and surrender it, right? It's like, I can do what I'm doing because why not, right? Every single day, there's some things that I do that are routine, right? I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to go sit at my computer. And there's something beautiful about being in action, right? And at the same time, you're going to get asked to go on a cruise, and you're going to play a game with the universe and say, get me to LA. And then you will. And I love how you looked at the glasses thing, because defocusing from this 3D is actually such a pleasure, right? To defocus off of this and see what's really there to see. I think you nailed it, right? And Amy was in the room and Andy Grammer was in the room, and boy, that music, you didn't have to see to feel that, but I can understand how powerful. And I'm so impressed how you just kept choosing alignment, right? Colleen, is there anything you want to say to add to this? It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it is gorgeous. And I think the important thing is for a lot of us, this doesn't apply to like every single kind of goal that people hold, but a lot of the time we can be aware of what we want. And then when we know that, we just feel the dissonance between where we are and where we want to be. And so it's, for a lot of us, can be an instant vibe kill. And then it pulls us even stronger into those slower moving energies of, I have to figure out how, I have to figure out all those details, not like the quick, like, oh yeah, I could drink more water ideas, but the like, let me get stuck in the molasses of trying to like distill this and all these things. And really the heart of it is your focus is probably at this point, because if you wouldn't have brought this up if there wasn't some resistance around it, do you know what I mean? And what that number means to you and what it's not right now in relation to that is, I would say, get off the topic altogether of that money. Find something else to direct your focus to in your life that feels good, and simultaneously monitor that you are still moving, because you're going to get access to other ideas, other thoughts for this so-called business plan when you are more in that flow, when you are more in that alignment, right? And so if you make that your priority, not what needs to go in the business plan, but what can I focus on that feels so good, but then also realizing, I mean, you don't sit on the couch and eat bonbons and everything changes, right? It's a 3D reality. So there is an aspect of us that has to show up for it. But when you do get those ideas, when you do get some of those impulses, you do take that action and move towards that. You make those calls, you reach out to that person, you say, hey, do you have any friends who are needing to list or looking to buy or whatever it happens to be? But that's really the heart of it, because sometimes the more we focus on a goal, we're actually in scarcity because we're in the place where we're aware of the not having. And like we always say, the frequency of the problem is not the frequency of the solution or the having. And so the more we can tune to something where there isn't that resistance, even if it's on a totally other topic, another domain of your life, doesn't matter, you're going to be energetically tuned differently to hear other things for this business that will help you.
And I just want to say one other thing, because we kind of marry these two things together. You know, everything Colleen said, you guys should go back and watch that. I mean, that is brilliant. You know, the frequency of the problem is not the frequency of the solution, and everything is energy. So when we're in the lack, when we're in the problem that you're trying to solve, because your abundance is over there, and right now you're in a point of alignment over here, and how do I fill the gap, right? If everything's energy, it's like, that's not going to be the energetic. That's not going to be the, you know, you're making slime. My kids make slime. They need certain amounts of activator and certain amount, whatever. It's been all over my house for 6 years. The energy, right, in one frequency is not the activator for the solution, right? So she's trying to move you out of, when you hold in there going, what's the plan, right? How do I figure it out? What I will say is, what we also marry together is business advice, because it's simple, because success leaves clues. If you, I mean, I've interviewed 700 multi-millionaires, some of them are billionaires. It's really the same over and over and over again. You can apply it to any business. What worked in my songwriting business was the same thing that worked, right? If someone does something once, you can say, lucky girl. But if it happens over and over again, and you're able to do that with your podcast, and you do that with your events, and you do, it's like some strategies at play, and it's simple. So here's the business advice. The business advice, when Colleen says, stop focusing over here. So where do you focus? Generosity. Get busy giving. So where would you give? So here's some ideas for you as a realtor. Where do you live? What town are you living in?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, I love Atlanta. Amazing. Okay. So you're living in Atlanta. So here's what you do, because you're a realtor, you sell places in Atlanta. So where do you give? Well, who are the people who are connected to people selling homes, right? Contractors, organizers, stagers, right? You make connections with these people, right? You connect with these people. Where are the people whose homes you might want to list hanging out? Most deals are done on a golf course, right? Depending on who your real client is, the kind of person, where is that woman right now? What networking events are you showing up and being a resource at? What kind of podcast are you doing that highlights different things happening in Atlanta, and also gives tips on how to get your house ready to sell and where the market is going, and also features different contractors and different kitchen stores to talk about different things that people can do to their homes? What does that do? People in Atlanta who already have, these businesses already have local audiences, right? So what I'm saying is, when we just get creative and we look at who the people are we're meant to serve, and how we could be generous, and how we can solve problems for them, we start putting those people into our sphere, right? So if you become this sweet, I mean, you're amazing. Like, you have such a light bulb about you. Really, it's such a pleasure. It's such love. It's just yumminess, honey love. It's like, I would love to have a podcast or an Instagram from you where you're like, here's what's up in Atlanta today. Here's my favorite coffee shop. And PS, if you need anything else to know about relocating here, call me. And PS, I'm doing a podcast and I'm talking to so-and-so, and he flips houses, and we're talking about how you can get your house the most value. And PS, did you know about Buckhead? And PS, have you looked over here on Peachtree Street? Do you know what's going down over here? It's like, you become a magnet for all things Atlanta. You become a person who's associated with all things real estate in Atlanta. It's easy, because if you're gonna buy from someone, if you're gonna hire a realtor, Who do you want to hire? The person you already know, like, and trust. You can become the person they know, like, and trust, because nothing is stopping you from publishing. Nothing is stopping you from going live. Nothing is stopping you from collaborating with 3 people in Atlanta who are in the world of real estate, you know, a stager, an organizer saying, you know, let's show up at this kitchen store and we'll all speak about things. And then the kitchen store gets more foot traffic and you say, you know why you'd want to buy this new kitchen? You know why you want to invest? Because by doing just the kitchen and the bathroom, you're going to get this much more for your house. Like, these are the kinds of things that when we get busy being creative, the abundance starts making a beeline for you, and you're no longer looking at a business plan, but you are showing up. So P.S. in the second 6 weeks of the program, those are all the things we teach you how to do, because there's only a few things that everyone has done, right? It's who's your person? Where are they hanging out? How can I serve them now? How can I already serve them before they give me the listing? What information? What positivity? And what do people want? Entertainment, information, education. You could be doing that, right? Let them have you. There's so much to be done and so many places to hang out and so many people to already be a resource to. How many Facebook groups are Atlanta based? Moms of Atlanta. That, you know what you do? You don't even have to sell. You just, hey, I could be a resource without selling. I know someone for you. Have you talked to this local guy? This person can do your landscaping. Oh, she happens to be a realtor. Boy, she's sweet. Maybe even create your own Facebook group just for business, women in business in Atlanta. But then, oh, and she's a realtor too, right? Yeah, she's a realtor. And she's always hosting these things for other women who have businesses in Atlanta. We do these breakfasts. And she's a realtor. That's right. She's a realtor. Do you see that?
Oh my God, do I see that?
Okay. So that's where we move to. It's like, that's why I have a business, because I'm not waiting for somebody to give me business. I'm going to go get the business because I'm going to show up and deposit. Next thing I know, I turn around, I have 5 businesses and they're all growing. That's why I don't check my bank account. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. It's inevitable. Type a 1 in the chat if you're getting it. Okay, so this is what we do. You're getting what we do. This is why I say it's literally getting on a ship, and 3 months from now, you're just in a different place. And so you have to sit down and really look at your soul and think hard and say, am I really going to not be a part of it? And that's up to you. And we're going to let you make that choice, because like I said, there's a million other people who teach both of these. I kind of teach them both together, but you can learn both of these separately from other people, and you can learn them brilliantly. And that's a fact. Thank you so much for coming on. Does anyone else want to chime in or ask a question?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I want to tell you a couple of giveaways. We want you to keep filling out the feedback form because it's helpful. And P.S. there's always an after party, which we let you know today. Colleen is going to be back with you guys tomorrow. And then I'm going to be back with you guys Monday and Wednesday. We always do an after party. That's always our big reveal. You know why? Because you get hit with like a train amount of new thoughts and new perspectives, and then things start to settle in and you start to have questions. So we're going to continue to answer questions and come back and do all that stuff. So I'll be back Monday and Wednesday. She'll be back tomorrow. We're going to keep the party going. The price for the program goes up on Wednesday. We want to extend the bonuses because I don't know how many of you saw, but there was glitching with Samcart. I was like, Colleen, it's fascinating like that this is happening. So some of you were very sweet. Some of you put in your card and it wasn't going through and you're like, did it work? Did it work? So we heard you. So we're going to extend the bonuses until tonight so you guys can get those. And we want to announce winners. 2 more winners for the Nordstrom gift card for those of you who filled out the form. If you want to share your feedback so that we can continue to assess more of what we need to share, go to cathyheller.com/share. If you want to get that extension on the bonuses, go to cathyheller.com/join and join by tonight. The price will go up next week. I can't tell you how many people they kick themselves because they wait till the following week and they're like, why did I do that? And I'm like, I don't know, but that's still good, right? Because it gives you even more reason to get it done, get the work done. Colleen, is there anything else we need to give away besides these two Nordstrom things? Homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the homework winners, let me just bring them up here, which by the way is a Barefoot Dreams blanket for those of you who did your homework, are Kara Emily Krantz, Rachel Perry Gillespie, and Shannon Marie Hipson. So you guys can all email in hello@cathyheller.com and let us know that you won those. And for the $500 gift cards, we have Cerise Wiltsey and Holly Richardson. So those are our two. So same thing, email in hello@cathyheller.com. And if you haven't filled out that form, it's at cathyheller.com/share.
And we'll give away more winners just for filling it out, because it's been so beautiful and helpful to read through what you guys are needing and where your issues are at. It helps us keep bettering everything. So we appreciate it so much. You know, I want to tell you one thing is that the reason Colleen knows the things I like. So she's so, now I don't have to tell you, you just pick the Barefoot Dreams blanket. You know, I love them. I have it all over my house. That blanket is so clutch, because when I first moved to LA and I didn't have a lot of money, because I was just beginning to vibe, you know, and play with thoughts turning to things, I was smart enough that even though I was making $800 a week, my first job was working in that casting office. Remember I told you that story while I was writing music before I got the record deal? Anyway, who can keep track? But I would take $250. And where would I go? I would go to the Peninsula Hotel and I would go to the spa, because I knew that just being in the energy of that would do worlds for me. So what happened? I knew that if you went and got a massage, you could spend the day in the spa. So I used to go get my massage and just feel into the frequency of abundance. And it was life-giving. It was like being dipped in gold dust. And then they would give you a little teacup, little tea, a little biscotti, and there was a blanket. And it was like this Barefoot Dreams blanket. And I remember sitting there thinking just the feeling of the blanket was enough to make me time travel. And that really was the beginning. And I remember my friend saying, how can you afford to spend $250 and get a massage? And I would go, how can you afford not to? Because by me going there for the whole day, my mind would open, my vibration would change, and I would start to radiate, and I would memorize this lightness, this ease, this gentleness. Because you know what happens when you actually enjoy luxury, real luxury? The vibe is very peaceful. It's not assertive, rude, sellers. Like, that's not the vibe at the Peninsula. The vibe is like grace. The vibe is like, there's a harp in the lobby. It's like angelic. I mean it. Like, for all the crap that the world has told us about money and people with money, they're dead wrong. Like, you go into these places and there's refinement and love and ease and philanthropy and beauty and grace. It's like such a vibe. So that was really powerful for me. And then I remember my record deal. Where did we meet? I mean, this record deal that I like never kept it, but where was the meeting? It was in the lobby of the Peninsula. And we were off the lobby in this little meeting room. And I was like, I know this vibe. I've been here. And there I was, like, signing a record deal. And it was not such a surprise. It was like, it's just fascinating what we make meaning of and what we spend our time on. And I've always, you go first and the universe responds. So I've always done that. I've just always done that. I remember I told you I had this CLK Mercedes, because when I got this job working for this real estate magnate, he owned all these shopping centers. He goes, if you want to make millions of dollars, you got to feel like millions of dollars. So he goes, go buy a new car. And I was like, huh? Like, what? Huh? And he's like, no, buy it now. Like, buy the car, like drive up and feel it. And so I remember buying this like CLK Mercedes just on credit. Like, it wasn't like and then what happened? I made all this money. And I would drive to work and blast Gnarls Barkley because that's what was on the radio at the time. And it was such a magnet. I would walk out of the car and it was like you could see me shake my hair out, with my Ray-Bans on. And it was like, okay. And then when I went into the music business, here's the deal. When I started selling songs for $85,000 a pop, it actually didn't feel like a hard muscle. You know why? I was selling $300 million shopping centers and I was hanging out on golf courses where people were doing deals in seconds. What's the investment? You got it. Can you wire that over? Thanks, Shelly. Like literally, I was watching money move and I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. And so then when I was talking to buyers of music, I was like, well, I'm not convincing them. The market's the market. The song is the song. That's what their budget is. And they're just giving it to me. Great. So it's like, you just don't realize because you don't know what you don't know. And then when you get inside it, it's awesome. And then my husband goes, you just print money. He goes, you're so available for money because you don't really care about it. You're not attached to it. You don't even look. He's like, I'm always looking because you don't look. So I look at your finance. And I'm like, you don't have to. Like, it's fine. Like, you just don't have to. Like, Colleen knows we go into launches and like, we don't really have a lot of conversations about what's this? How did we do? What's our budget? How much? We just don't have those meetings. Like, we just don't have those meetings. I kind of do more like, how are you feeling? What's our feeling of how it's going? Where do we need to put more energy? What do we need to put more attention on? It's just fun. We've just created a whole bunch of myths that we have to deprogram. It's just a big deprogramming. So we're very, very excited. Those of you who are already in, we see you. There's a bunch of you, and there's some of you joining VIP, which is awesome. Those VIP sessions are going to be amazing. We're going to go double. You're going to have double of me, but we're also just going to go deeper in the content, right? We're just going to scale. We're going to work on scaling. And those of you who are going to be in the gold level, we're going to just have the best time. We're so excited. My team is also amazing. And Colleen wanted me to remind you that some of you have gotten DMs because some of you left comments or some of you asked questions. Sometimes they're in your, what's it called?
Yeah, if you go into your Facebook Messenger and you click those three little horizontal lines at the top left, the third option down is called message requests. And Facebook likes to filter comments into message requests. And so you won't see them in your chat. So if you want, just go to your messenger, click the three lines and then click message request, and you may have a message just waiting for you.
Yeah. And the reason we wanted to do this on Zoom, first of all, it's very fun. And we knew you'd ask great questions, and you guys did. You brought out such good segments today. So thank you for all of that. That's the best content, is just the content that you guys direct. It's the best. The other reason we wanted to do this is because this is what we do in the program, right? So in the program, you have things you can start immediately, right? There's pre-recorded stuff with workbooks you can start right away. And then there's 12 hours of this with me, and there's 12 sessions with Colleen, right? So we get into this stuff. So there's plenty of opportunities for you to do this. And this is really the only way we do it. We don't offer one-on-one coaching. We just don't have that capacity at this point because there's just such a demand. So we do it like this, but it tends to be that in these groups, it almost winds up being better because the questions people ask are also the questions you have. And then we put you into pods, and those pods become really sacrosanct because people will help each other through. And then we're going to keep you accountable, right? We're going to give you homework, and we're going to do co-working moments to make sure you catch up so that you get it done. And I know it seems like a lot, but if you just gave yourself, I would say 2 hours a week to dedicate to the class, you'll have a giant change in your life, right? You don't really need to give 40 hours to this, but I would say if you could give 2 hours a week, I think you could get it done. And if you can't make it to the live sessions that the two of us do, you can always watch those after they're recorded. So there's a lot there for you. Colleen, do we have anything else to say? No.
It's the same time for those of you wondering about the session with me tomorrow on Saturday, and the Monday and the Wednesday. So the 9 Pacific, noon Eastern, same time. You can come into Zoom room for all of those if you want now, or you can watch on Facebook. Either of that is fine.
Yeah. And those of you who are alumni, there is an alumni discount code. We always do that. We want to acknowledge you. You can DM any of us. You can DM me on Instagram to get that code. Yeah. And also those of you who do the VIP level, you also get my full podcast program, which is usually $3,000. You get the whole program just by being in this, if you just want to do a deep dive on that, because that's definitely opened a whole world up for me. You know, I went to see Esther Hicks and I ran into Mitch Grassi, I told you, in the lobby, and I was really tickled. I called Colleen. I was like, I literally saw about 20 people who knew me from my podcast. And that really doesn't happen that often. Like I can count on like two hands how many times people have recognized me. And it was like, whoa, my people are here. And it's because of the podcast. So the podcast has given me just a seat, you know, at a lot of amazing tables. And it gives you authority, right? Nobody's stopping you from having a podcast. And like, who else has a podcast? Katie Couric. Who else has a podcast? Like Dave Ramsey and Rob Lowe, and like nobody's stopping you. And all of a sudden you have credibility, you have authority, you have a podcast, right? It used to be that way with a book. Like Malcolm Gladwell, I've mentioned a few times, you know, he's not a psychologist. He's just writing books. Like he's a journalist. Like he's just a curious person. He's not a PhD. People think, oh, he wrote a book. It's like, it was, he's compiling research. But why do people give him authority? Because it's in a book. You know, the book on happiness by Gretchen Rubin. It's like Gretchen Rubin's a lawyer who's researching happiness. Like she's not an authority on happiness. Oh, but she wrote a book on it, right? So it's like that with podcasts now. It's like, you know, so-and-so, she has a podcast on that. It's like, she's just a person. So having a podcast can generate a lot of intimacy with an audience, and it can generate a lot of authority, and it can get you in a lot of rooms. So and those of you who are in the gold level, we touch on that anyway. But if you want the whole thing, it comes with the VIP level. How many hours per week would you need for the VIP level? I would say the same thing. It's just going to be it's going to be a deeper, elevated like content, right? Because we're going to be having a conversation that's a slightly different conversation because your business is now in a different spot, or you've been practicing it at a certain level. But I would say it's about the same.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really loved today's call. Colleen, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all the girls on our team for just being such awesome, genuinely loving, freaking awesome people. And I so appreciate your questions and your comments. It's uncanny. The positivity just keeps coming. So thank you. If you need the alumni code, you should DM my Instagram account, Cathy.Heller, or you should DM any of our people and they can give you the alumni code. Yeah. And you guys should subscribe to the podcast because we're going to do another giveaway in this week just for you who've subscribed. So cathyheller.com/podcast. And there's some really amazing episodes. And that's it. Thank you guys for today. I'll be back with you on Monday, and Colleen will be back tomorrow.